Be honest with yourself for the next few minutes. How many things in your current life are truly making you stronger? And how many things are you still carrying simply because you have become too accustomed to their presence? Most people spend their entire lives pursuing more money, more opportunities, more recognition. They believe that the answer to their insecurity lies in adding something else to their lives. But very few people stop to ask a more dangerous question. What if the thing preventing you from living peacefully is not what you lack, but what you still refuse to let go of? Think about that. Marcus Aurelius understood this better than most people. He was a man who held in his hands the kind of power the entire world longs for. Yet the battle he devoted his life to was not against external enemies. It was against flawed thinking, uncontrolled emotions, and the invisible burdens that exist within the human mind. That is also the reason for this video. What you are about to hear is not a collection of positive advice designed to make you feel good for the next few minutes. These are 10 things that wise people learn to remove from their lives, not because they are obvious. On the contrary, it is precisely because they are so familiar that most people never realize they are quietly stealing their peace, clarity, and inner strength. So do not rush through what you are about to hear. Do not assume that you already know what is coming next, because sometimes the lesson with the greatest power to change your life is the very lesson you once believed you did not need to hear. If Stoic ideas like these help you see life with greater depth, please like this video and subscribe to the channel to continue this journey with us. Now, let us begin. Number 1. Stop comparing yourself to others. Do not waste what remains of your life thinking about others when you could be improving yourself. Marcus Aurelius. There is a trap that almost everyone has fallen into at some point. Yet very few people realize that it is quietly stealing the joy from their lives. It is the habit of comparison. You see someone achieving success faster than you. You see someone with more money, more opportunities, or more admiration from others. And within just a few brief seconds, all the good things you possess seem to lose their value. The strange thing is that your life has not changed at all in that moment. Your work is still the same. Your achievements are still the same. The effort you have invested is still the same. The only thing that has changed is the direction of your mind. That is precisely why comparison is so dangerous. It causes you to stop living your own life and begin living in the shadow of someone else's. Most people believe they are seeking motivation when they look at the success of others. But in reality, most of the time they are simply searching for more reasons to feel that they are not good enough. Every time they look to the side, they unconsciously place their lives on a scale against someone with different circumstances, a different starting point, different talents, and different struggles they know nothing about. It is an unfair game from the very beginning. Think about this. You would never look at an oak tree and criticize it for not growing as quickly as bamboo. Nor would you look at an eagle and feel disappointed because it cannot swim as well as a dolphin. Every living creature develops according to its own nature, yet human beings constantly torment themselves by measuring their lives against someone else's standards. Stoic philosophy reminds us that energy is finite. Every minute you spend envying another person's success is a minute you are not investing in your own growth. Every time you become obsessed with how far someone else has gone, you neglect the only question that truly matters. Am I better today than I was yesterday? That is the only competition worth entering. Marcus Aurelius was the ruler of the most powerful empire in the world at the time. If anyone had enough reasons to compare himself to others, it was him. Yet instead of worrying about what other people possessed, he devoted his life to observing his own mind. For he understood that peace does not come from surpassing others, it comes from mastering yourself. So the next time you catch yourself comparing your life to someone else's, pause for a moment and ask yourself, will this help me become better, or is it simply causing me to forget the path I was meant to follow? Number 2. Raising your voice at others. When angry or disappointed, Seneca pointed out a truth that most people only realize when it is already too late. Anger, if not restrained, is often more harmful to us than the very thing that provoked it. Think back to the last time you lost your temper. Perhaps it was during a tense meeting. Perhaps it was an argument with a loved one. Or perhaps it was simply a moment when someone said something that made you feel insulted, dismissed, or disrespected. In those moments, anger always makes the same promise. It tells you that if you speak louder, react more forcefully, or make the other person feel as uncomfortable as they made you feel, you will regain control. But be honest with yourself. What usually happens after the anger fades? Do you truly feel stronger, or do you simply regret the words you said? This is what most people fail to realize. Losing control of your emotions is not a sign of strength. It is evidence that external circumstances are controlling you. Anyone can shout. Anyone can slam a table, criticize, or react instinctively. None of that requires training. What is far more difficult is remaining calm when your mind is being pulled toward chaos. That is real strength. The Stoic philosophers understood that anger is like a fire. If left unchecked, it burns everything in its path, including the person carrying it. A few seconds of impulsiveness can destroy a relationship that took years to build. A single sentence spoken in anger can leave wounds that countless apologies afterward may never fully erase. So when emotions begin to rise, do not rush to react. Pause. Allow a few seconds of silence to exist between emotion and action. That moment of silence is smaller than you think, yet powerful enough to change the entire outcome of a conversation. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself that no one could harm his mind unless he allowed it to happen. That is why, despite facing wars, betrayals, and the immense pressures of power, he still regarded mastering himself as the most important victory of all. That is the lesson for you as well. The strongest person in the room is not the one who speaks the loudest, but the one who remains calm when everyone else has lost their composure. Leave a comment right now. I choose calm over anger. Because sometimes the greatest victory is not defeating someone else, but refusing to let anger defeat yourself. Number 3. Perfectionism. Seneca pointed out a truth that many people only realize after wasting far too much time. It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that things are difficult. There is a paradox worth reflecting on in the journey of self-improvement. The people who set the highest standards for themselves are often seen as those with the greatest potential to go far. Yet those same people are sometimes the ones who remain stuck the longest. That is the trap of perfectionism. At first glance, it looks like an admirable quality. It pushes you to do everything well. with precision, and to constantly raise your standards. But be careful. In many cases, perfectionism is not a sign of excellence. It is a sign of fear disguised in a more respectable form. Take a moment to look back at your own life. How many times have you delayed a project because you felt you were not good enough yet? How many opportunities have you missed because you thought you needed more preparation? How many ideas are still trapped inside your mind simply because you have not found a way to execute them perfectly? This is what most people fail to realize. Perfectionism does not make us act better. More often, it makes us act less. We become so afraid of making mistakes that we do not dare to begin. We become so afraid of being judged that we do not dare to try. And in the end, we lock ourselves inside an endless cycle of preparation. Think about a child learning to walk. If that child demanded perfect steps on the very first attempt, they would never leave the ground. Every skill in life is built in exactly the same way. No one becomes a great speaker with their first speech. No one writes an outstanding book in their first draft. No one builds a life worth being proud of without making mistakes along the way. That is why the Stoics did not pursue perfection. They pursued progress. Marcus Aurelius did not wake up every day with the goal of becoming a flawless human being. He simply tried to become a better version of himself than he was the day before. It sounds simple, but it is a far more realistic standard and a far more powerful one. So instead of asking, "How can I avoid making mistakes?" try asking a different question: "What can I learn if I make a mistake?" instead of waiting for perfect conditions. Start with what you already have. Instead of demanding immediate excellence from yourself, allow yourself to improve little by little. Number 4. Explaining yourself to people who hurt you. Marcus Aurelius left behind a powerful reminder: the best revenge is not to become like the one who committed the injustice. Imagine this. Someone once betrayed your trust. It could have been a close friend, a colleague, someone to whom you gave your respect and sincere goodwill. Then one day, they did something that left you disappointed. The strange thing is that the hurt often does not end there. Many people continue carrying it for months. Even years afterward, they constantly rehearse imaginary conversations in their minds. They think about all the things they should have said. They imagine the moment when the other person finally realizes how wrong they were. But think carefully. What is it that makes us so obsessed with explaining ourselves? Most of the time, it is not because we want the truth to be revealed. We want to be recognized as the one who was right. We want the other person to see the pain they caused. We want them to admit their mistake. The problem is that life does not work that way. There are people who will never understand what they have done. There are people who understand perfectly well but simply do not care. And there are people who will continue to distort the story in order to protect their own ego. When that happens, the more you try to explain yourself, the more power you hand over to the person who hurt you. The Stoics understood something that most people miss. Not every battle is worth fighting. Epictetus firmly stated that we should focus on what is within our control. And the thoughts of other people have never been on that list. That is why sometimes the strongest response is not to argue, it is to walk away. Not because you are weak, not because you have nothing to say, but because you realize that your peace of mind is worth more than the need to be understood by someone else. Remember, this walking away from someone who does not respect you is not an act of bitterness. It is an act of self-respect. Just as you would not continue drinking from a well that you know has been poisoned, You are under no obligation to keep investing your time, energy, and emotions into relationships that continually hurt you. So the next time you feel the urge to prove that you are right, pause for a moment and ask yourself, am I searching for the truth, or am I searching for approval from someone who is incapable of giving it to me? Number 5. Chasing external validation. Epictetus issued a warning that most modern people are ignoring. If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid concerning external things. There is a strange paradox in life. The harder you try to please everyone, the more you lose yourself. Think about that. From a young age, we are taught to seek approval. Good grades bring praise. Achievements bring attention. Obedience brings rewards. Gradually, the mind learns a dangerous lesson. Your worth depends on the reactions of other people. And years later, that lesson continues to control our lives. You hesitate to speak your true thoughts because you fear being judged. You make decisions you do not genuinely want to make, simply to avoid disappointing others. You spend too much time thinking about how you appear in the eyes of other people and forget to build the person you truly are. This is where the trap appears. Most people believe that validation will bring confidence, but the truth is often the opposite. When self-esteem is built upon the approval of others, you end up living like a debtor. Every compliment becomes a psychological loan, and once you become accustomed to that feeling, you will always need more. More attention, more praise, more signals confirming that you are good enough. It is a pursuit with no finish line. Marcus Aurelius was the most powerful man in the known world of his time. If anyone had the right to seek admiration from the crowd, it was him. Yet instead of being concerned with fame, he constantly reminded himself of a simple truth: the opinions of others cannot make a person more virtuous, nor can they make them worse. The Stoics understood that there is a profound difference between reputation and character. Reputation exists in the minds of other people. Character exists in your actions. Reputation can change after a single conversation. Character is built through years of discipline, and only one of those is truly within your control. So try a simple exercise. The next time you face an important decision, do not ask, "What will people think of me?" Ask, "If nobody ever knew about this, would I still do it?" The answer to that question often reveals far more than you think. Number 6. Clinging to unrealistic expectations. As we begin the journey of life, we all raise the sails of expectation. We imagine our careers unfolding in a certain direction, the people we love staying with us forever, and that if we work hard enough, life will eventually give us what we deserve. At first glance, this seems harmless, but much of human suffering begins right here, because over time, expectations stop being hopes. They become invisible demands that we place upon life, and then we become disappointed when reality refuses to follow the script we have already written in our minds. Like sailors enchanted by the songs of the sirens in Greek mythology, we endlessly pursue perfect versions of ourselves, of other people, and of life itself. Yet the closer we move toward them, the more we realize that what we are chasing is like the horizon at sea. It is always ahead of us and never truly attainable. That is the trap that very few people recognize. A person rarely suffers because of reality itself. They suffer because reality does not match what they expected. A relationship does not hurt them as much as the idealized image they attach to it. A failure does not break them as much as the distance between where they are and where they believe they should be. Marcus Aurelius understood this deeply. Amid wars, plagues, and repeated losses, he learned to see the world as it is, rather than as he wished it to be. That is also the central spirit of Stoicism. Epictetus offered a powerful reminder: do not seek for events to happen as you wish, but wish for events to happen as they do happen, and your life will go smoothly. That does not mean abandoning goals. Stoics still take action and still pursue what is meaningful, but they understand that goals create direction, while expectations create dependence on outcomes. Number 7. Unnecessary goals. Seneca issued a warning that most people misunderstand. It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. Seneca. When most people hear this quote, they think about laziness. They think about meaningless hours on social media, pointless conversations, or years spent living without discipline. But sometimes, the greatest waste takes on a completely different form. It is spending years of your life pursuing goals that no longer have any real meaning. Some people spend their youth chasing status only to realize they never truly wanted it. Some work tirelessly to build an image of success simply to earn the approval of others. Some continue clinging to old dreams, not because those dreams still matter, but because they have invested too much time to walk away. This is one of the most subtle traps in life. We often assume that maturity means constantly adding new goals, but very few people understand that maturity is sometimes learning how to eliminate them. Not every goal deserves to be carried to the end of the journey. A ship does not sink because the ocean is too vast. It sinks because it carries too much unnecessary weight. Human life is no different. Every goal demands time, energy, and attention, and those resources are always limited. Every meaningless goal you continue to carry is quietly taking resources that should be invested in what truly matters. The Stoics understood this clearly. They did not judge a goal by how impressive it appeared. They judged it with one simple question: will this help me become the person I want to become? If the answer was no, they were willing to let it go, no matter how long they had pursued it. So take a moment to examine your own life. Is there a goal you are still chasing simply because you fear the feeling of giving up? Is there a plan you continue to cling to only because you have already devoted too many years to it? Is there something occupying your time and your mind that no longer brings you closer to the life you genuinely want? Sometimes, the greatest step forward does not come from achieving another new goal. It comes from being wise enough to recognize what is no longer worthy of the time you have left. Number 8. Spreading negative opinions about others. Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be 1. Marcus Aurelius. Think about the last time you heard someone speaking negatively about another person. Maybe it happened during a conversation with friends. Maybe at work. Maybe it was nothing more than a few seemingly harmless remarks. But be honest with yourself. Was trust the first thing that came to mind? Or was it another question: if they speak about that person this way today, what will they say about me tomorrow when I'm not around? That is the paradox of negative speech. We often believe it harms the person being discussed, but many times It harms the speaker first. Every judgment repeated. Every story embellished. Every unnecessary criticism leaves a mark on our own character. Just as cigarette smoke does not only pollute the room but also clings to the clothes of the person smoking it, negative words quietly cling to the person who speaks them. Imagine working with a difficult colleague. They frustrate you. They make mistakes repeatedly. They make everything more complicated than it needs to be. The greatest temptation is to find a group of people who agree with you and turn that frustration into a topic of conversation. It feels satisfying for a few minutes, but it solves nothing. It does not make you wiser. It does not make you stronger. It only keeps your mind trapped in irritation longer than necessary. The Stoics viewed this differently. They understood that every person is fighting invisible battles that others cannot see. That does not mean you must agree with everything they do, nor does it mean you should tolerate wrongdoing. But it does mean you can choose to respond with clarity rather than emotion. Instead of spreading contempt, seek understanding. Instead of feeding conflict, seek solutions. Because a person's character is not revealed most clearly by how they speak about their friends, it is revealed most clearly by how they speak about the people they dislike. So ask yourself a question. What do the words you speak about others when they are absent reveal about you? And if someone were listening to that conversation, would they respect you more or respect you less? If you are still watching at this point, leave a comment with the phrase, "I choose wisdom over judgment." That is not just a comment. It is a reminder to yourself. Number 9. Using social media unconsciously. In 336, Alexander the Great began his campaign to conquer the world. Before the age of 30, he had acquired power, fame, and victories that most people could not imagine achieving in an entire lifetime. Yet historical accounts reveal something far more interesting. Even a man who had conquered nearly the entire known world was often dissatisfied. Every victory brought fulfillment only for a brief moment before his mind turned toward another land to conquer, another goal to achieve, another summit to surpass. It is an ancient lesson that most modern people still have not learned. The human mind is rarely satisfied with what it already has. It is always looking elsewhere, always searching for the next thing, always believing that fulfillment exists somewhere ahead. Social media has simply turned this tendency into an endless stream flowing day and night. Every time you open your phone, you enter a world where thousands of other lives are displayed before your eyes. Successes, vacations, relationships, and the happiest moments of people's lives appear one after another. And then the mind does what it has always done for thousands of years. It begins to compare, it begins to desire, it begins to feel that what it already has is not enough. Marcus Aurelius warned, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." Marcus Aurelius, that is not a beautiful quote to write in a notebook. It is a warning. Because what you continually look at gradually becomes what you desire. What you continually think about gradually shapes the way you see life. And what you allow your mind to consume each day eventually becomes your character. That is why the Stoics were concerned not only with what they did, they were equally concerned with what they allowed to enter their minds. Stoic practice does not require you to abandon social media. It requires you to observe yourself while using it. Are you learning? Or are you merely consuming? Are you becoming wiser? Or are you becoming more dissatisfied? Are you directing your attention Or are you handing it over to whatever appears next on the screen? Those questions are far more important than how many hours you spend on your phone each day. If this lesson resonates with you, leave a comment with the phrase, "I choose awareness over distraction." That is not just a comment. It is a reminder that your attention is one of the most valuable things you possess. Because the real battle has never taken place on the screen, it has always taken place within the mind. Number 10. Oversharing about the end of relationships. In the year 44 before the Common Era, after Julius Caesar was assassinated in the Roman Senate, the empire entered one of the most chaotic periods in its history. Rumors spread through the streets. Accusations, half-truths, and endless speculation traveled from person to person faster than any army could march. Within a short time, people could no longer distinguish between truth and emotion disguised as truth. What is fascinating is that more than 2,000 years have passed, yet human nature has changed very little. Whenever a relationship comes to an end, many people feel an overwhelming urge to tell their story. They want to explain what happened. They want to prove who was right and who was wrong. They want others to understand their pain. And deeper than that, they want validation that they were the one who suffered more. But here is the question a Stoic would ask. Does telling that story over and over again actually help the wound heal, or does it simply keep the wound open? Marcus Aurelius stated, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. Marcus Aurelius. The end of a relationship is an external event. It has already happened. It belongs to the past. But the mind's decision to revisit it, analyze it, justify it, and retell, it is a choice taking place in the present. This is what many people fail to recognize. Sometimes we are no longer suffering because of the original event. We are suffering because we have relived it too many times. Every time a betrayal is retold, the mind recreates the emotions of betrayal. Every time a disappointment is repeated, the disappointment is fed once again. Stoic practice does not ask you to deny your emotions. It asks you to stop turning those emotions into your identity. Instead of asking, "How can I make people understand what I went through?" try asking a different question. What is this experience trying to teach me? That is the question of maturity. Because the Stoics understood that not every pain needs an audience. Some lessons reveal themselves only in silence. Some wounds begin to heal only when they are no longer retold. And some endings truly close only when you stop trying to explain them to the world. If this lesson speaks to you, leave a comment with the phrase, "I choose growth over explanation." That is not just a comment. It is a reminder that your healing does not require an audience. Sometimes, the greatest dignity after a separation is not found in what you say. It is found in what you choose to keep for yourself.